Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about why you should look to grow as slowly as you possibly can when it comes to your spiritual progress, when it comes to meditation and things like that. Many people, and I totally understand it because I've felt like this at times, want to grow as quickly as possible. We want to just expand. We want to know everything. We want to know as much as possible. And it's very, very dangerous to do that and actually to do exercises that facilitate that. And I'm going to explain why in this video. So grow as slowly as possible. That can seem very mundane and boring to us in this modern day age where everything can be got very quickly. If we want a meal, bang, we can order it and within half an hour it'll be here. If we want something, you can go on Amazon, you can get Amazon Prime and you'll get something, whatever it is, pretty much next day. So we're used to having this snappy progress, but when it comes to your spiritual growth, it must be done slowly, it must be done gradually, and there's an important reason for that. So if you imagine and take the idea of a mountaineer for a moment. So if you are a mountaineer and you go to, let's say, K represents Kathmandu, let's say that you're aspiring to climb Everest. Even just to get to base camp, which I've had the pleasure of doing, they recommend, it normally takes something like 10 days. I think it took me 10 days to walk there. And a guide took us, and over 10 days, we meandered through all the mountains and through all along the trails, and we got to base camp in roughly 10 days, I think it was, or something like that. And all along the way, we'd stop. Day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way up until day 10. And the reason for that was because our bodies needed to acclimatise to the thin air. Likewise, if you were aspiring to go for the summit, if I remember rightly, there's 4 camps. Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, Camp 4. And mountaineers, they will rotate. So they'll go up to Camp 1, they'll allow their body to acclimatise and rest, and then they'll come down to base camp. And then they'll go up to Camp 1, and then the next day, Camp 2. And this might be over the course of, a few days or weeks. Then they'll come down from Camp 2, then they'll go Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3. They'll spend a bit of time at Camp 3. And obviously as we're going up, the air gets thin. So this is the thinnest air up here. Let's just say 1 out of 10, and this is 10 out of 10. It's probably more like 6 out of 10 at base camp, but you get the idea. So as we go up, the air gets thinner. And the higher we go, the longer it will take our body to acclimatise to the thin air. But if someone decided they were at Kathmandu and they thought, I just want to get a helicopter right up to Everest. If a helicopter flew all the way up to the Everest summit, which you probably can't do, but if it could, and someone got out, they would probably die very quickly because their body hasn't had time to acclimatise and adjust and adapt to the level of air that there is or isn't at Everest Base Camp. So you get the idea. When it comes to mountaineering, everything has to be done very slow, very gradually, and everyone understands that. Everyone understands that rushing and going quickly is actually detrimental. It's very problematic, and it's much safer and better for you to actually reach the goal if you go gradually. Meditation, spirituality, it's got to be the same. The mind, it's often kind of described as a bit like a light bulb, and if we've only got a 40-watt light bulb and we put 1,000 volts through that, the light bulb's going to blow. It's not going to be able to manage, or 1,000 watts through that. It's not going to be able to manage with that load. So what we would have to do is get to the point where we can produce a much bigger light bulb. And then that bigger light bulb can manage this extra energy that it's under. So meditation is very, very similar. And spiritual work is very similar. You'll find that the progress wants to be gradual. And yes, you will have some spikes. That's totally normal. And you will have some periods where your growth is much better and you have a kind of a bigger expansion. But even that can take sometimes weeks, months, sometimes years to actually restabilize from a big expansion like that. And so oftentimes, and as I said at the start, I totally understand it. We want to rush to get to this point of awakening or to get to this point of you know, a greater realization, a greater expansion. I want to progress. But even to get to the point of coming across teachings like the sort of thing that you're watching now, this transition here, this exchange, has probably taken many lifetimes for me to get to the point where I can think this sort of stuff through and have an interest in this to the extent that I want to teach it, and for you to be at a point where you're open and ready to accept it, and you're interested in an understanding of what I'm talking about. Both of us likely have had many lifetimes to get to this point now, and that's because our progress will have just been gradually going upward. We would have gradually been improving. So the types of meditations that I teach typically inside my school are all safe. They've all been given by a divine avatar. All of the exercises are meditations and practices that I have personally practiced myself for over 20 years. I got into it when I was really young, about 6 years old. So I've tried and tested everything that I teach inside my school. But it doesn't matter where you go to learn meditation or learn and evolve spiritually. But I would really just want to make the point that try not to do it quickly. Do it gradually. Do it in a safe way. Do it, and don't worry if you're not having these big expansions and you don't feel as though much is changing. It is changing on a subtle level, I can assure you that. But just go steady, just step by step, and you'll look back over the course of 6 months or a year and you'll realize how far you've come. But day to day, it's not always noticeable. And there are many people that end up in psychiatric wards because they've played around with Kundalini yoga, or they've gone down this route of trying to expand very quickly. And if you try to expand quickly and your mind is not yet prepared for that, you're in for big trouble. And I've had one experience of being on the border of this, and I believe I was given exactly what I was able to manage and not a speck more. But I was on a 10-day meditation retreat. It was a totally silent retreat. I've spoken about this on other videos. And we would get up at 4 in the morning, meditate for about 10 hours a day. So it was a lot of work, a lot of effort and energy I put into this 10 days. And on day 7, I had a huge expansion. The ones that everyone wants, basically. Everyone sort of wishes that they had. And it was incredible for a couple of days. But then after that, my mind felt like a container. And as I was talking about earlier, if my mind was 100 watts, it felt like I was given 100 watts worth of energy. It was absolutely at the brim of what it could contain. That's how it felt to me. It didn't feel like I could be given a speck more. It took me a few weeks for my consciousness to actually stabilize and get to a point where I felt quite comfortable with it. And alongside all of that energy and the experience I had came a lot of fear, came a lot of confusion, a lot of doubt. Fortunately, I was under the guidance of a teacher, so I could ask questions and he could give me direct answers as to what I was actually going through. But many people don't have that luxury. And I remember thinking at that time, I cannot believe how volatile this energy is. I can't believe how dangerous this work is if it's not done in the correct way, if it's not done gradually. And I remember I had the knowing instantly that this has to be done slowly. This has to be done safely. And people say, oh, fear's a barrier. You have to work through fear. This is different. This was like being on the border of sort of losing my mind. That's how I felt. And as I say, I think I was given exactly what I was personally able to manage, whatever that was. So going down the route that's safe, that's tried and tested, being very close to the divine and developing your relationships, surrendering to the divine, this is the route that I recommend because it's safe. It means you're under constant guidance and you'll grow in a way that's gradual. You will be able to acclimatize safely to the thin air, so to speak. So if you're interested in being part of an online school and joining live sessions and having personal guidance with your meditation journey, feel free to join us. I'll leave a link in the description to my online school. But failing that, I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks a lot.